Hi, I'm Nathaniel Shuda, the city reporter for Daily Tribune Media here in Wisconsin Rapids, and we're here on River City's Community Access talking to each of the three mayoral candidates here for the city of Wisconsin Rapids. We're going to be having a primary here in the city coming up on February 18th. And there are three people seeking the position. Today we will be speaking with, or right now rather, we will be speaking with Steven Koth Jr., who is one of the challengers. Also running in the race is incumbent Mayor Zach Verwink and former Mayor Mary Jo Carson. Like I said, today, right now, we have Steven Koth. Mr. Koth, nice to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me today.
And why don't we start off, get right down to it, and start off with relatively new face, I think, to many people in the community. I know you'd originally been a part of the community from the Wisconsin Rapids area. Could you start off by kind of introducing yourself and letting people know a little bit about you?
Sure. I grew up here actually out in the Kellner area. I'm a 1999 graduate of Lincoln High School. After high school, it was hard to find a job around here, and we all know Consolidated sold and became Story, and so at that time, and things just started to slow down. And my wife and I were dating at that time, and she was going to school over at the University of Wisconsin River Falls, and so she suggested that I move over there because the economic conditions were better over there, and packed up and went over there and spent 11 years over in western Wisconsin, eastern Minnesota working. And it was a huge difference to be over there. There was a lot of choice of employment, competitive wages, good jobs. And it was that way for quite a while up until 2008, 2009 when the recession set in. And then we had children, and even now it's still good over there, but it's tight. But we had to talk about it, and we thought maybe moving back to Wisconsin Rapids would be the best answer for us, because our family, our base is still back here. So in summer of 2012, we decided to move back, and so I've been back in town for just over a year now.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Okay. And what kind of inspired you? Obviously, quite a variety of, it sounds like, a background that you have. What kind of inspired you to put your hat in the ring and run for mayor?
Well, I've always had an interest in politics. I follow it a lot. I like to follow it. I'm kind of a political junkie. Going to mid-state, this last semester I took a government class, and I was very active in the class and did very well. And my instructor encouraged me to get involved in community politics. He thought I had a lot of good ideas and said, you know, you're never going to know unless you try. So that was a couple things that went in it. But then also, when I was really thinking about it, back in 2000, 2001, before I moved to Pierce County, I always thought Rapids was just going to be in a slump. You know, that things would turn around and something would come in and the town would bounce back, and you know, the ebb and flow that they say the economy has. 11 years later, returning back, in my opinion, things have gone from bad to worse. And that you can't call it a slump anymore. It's a tradition. I walk around town or drive around town with my family. I look at places that used to be here when I was a kid, they're gone. You look at places that are getting ready to leave. You walk around our mall, you look at all the vacant spots that are in there, and you realize there's nothing here, and we're losing more and more. That I want to at least try to step up to the plate and do something to bring industry back to life in this town, and that means working with the local businesses that are here to help them grow and expand and make it so they want to stay here, so they don't want to leave here and go to other cities. And for other businesses that are looking outside of Wisconsin Rapids, that are looking for a home, make this community appeal to them. You know, show them the potential that this community has to offer with the amount of people that are looking for work. If you can bring the businesses back and you can get manufacturing going in this town again, instead of having this to be a 1 or 2 industry town, but multiple industries, other industries, support industries will come in here and produce more jobs, and we'll fill up our mall again, we'll fill up our main strip again, we'll have all the other things, and it'll be like it used to be once again. And that's what I want to take the opportunity to do, and that's what inspired me to throw my hat in the ring.
And how do you hope to, obviously talking a little bit about, wanting to improve that business climate and that economic climate of Wisconsin Rapids. How, as mayor, do you propose to go about doing that? Obviously, there's quite a variety of thoughts in terms of how government plays a role in economic development and in business, and certainly that mayor position is a big part of that. How do you hope to go about accomplishing that goal of bringing and fostering more job creation and business development in the city?
Right now, from what I believe and from what I've heard talking with a lot of people, is I believe the government just needs to back off the local business. I've met businesses that want to expand their business, add on, or do something else, and they're being told where they can and can't go, how they have to design their building, and it's not something outrageous that's going to look ridiculous on the main strip in town. When you want to run a business, whatever it is you want to run, if the city approaches you and says, no, you don't belong here, we don't want you on our main strip, we want you over on this side of town because this is the type of business you are. When your business fits the zoning laws and your building meets the codes, the city has no right to do that. And then other cities are taking note of what's going on here, and they'll approach that business and say, hey, Rapids don't want you on their main strip, come on over to our town. We'll put you on our main strip. We'll find a spot for you. And they leave. And it's another place that we end up losing. It's another empty spot that we gain. It's more tax revenue that we lose. So I believe that instead of local government telling businesses what they can't do, to work with them to help them find ways what they can do, to maybe work for an accommodation. Find the middle ground. Help them out. Help them expand. Mm-hmm. Don't just be slamming the door in their face and saying, "We're not going to let you do this." For other businesses that look at coming into Wisconsin Rapids as a potential spot to build, I think a lot of things get shot down before they even really seriously get looked at. People just seem to walk around and they have their heads down, saying, we're stuck in this slump. It's horrible. We don't have anything. Someone wants to come in here, and then the attitude is, well, I don't want that in my backyard. I don't want this over there. I don't want that over there. We find more ways to stop the growth than we do to help it. And I firmly believe that the mayor, the city council, and even the citizenry of the city, we all need to put that mentality behind us. And instead of saying no of what won't work, we all need to start pulling together and finding what will work. You drive around this town, there's so many empty commercial spots for sale. There's so many industrial spots that are up for sale. And you look at some of the signs, they even say price reduced on them. There's no reason why we can't bring something in here and let them build and let them make jobs. There's no reason why we should be telling a local business that they can't expand their business or grow their business out. We really need to foster a good sense of growth and goodwill towards business, within reason. Not saying give a business a license to do whatever they want to do and let them just decide their own course. I mean, we have the zoning and building code laws for a reason. And I say if you're within zoning, you're within code, go ahead. That's the entrepreneurial spirit to grow that way.
A couple of things I want to follow up on some of the items that you had just mentioned. You talked a little bit about what you see as kind of a hindrance in terms of city regulations and things like that, perhaps for businesses that want to either expand or change something, whether it be signage or something like that. Do you have any specific examples in terms of some of those regulations that you're talking about?
I prefer not to use the business name, but there is a local business that's on our main strip in town. But they wanted to buy a property, a residential home that was next to their business. They wanted to tear down the house and expand their business to grow it. By expanding their business would have generated more tax revenue for the city than the residential home that's in poor shape. They were told by the city that their business is a destination business and they don't even belong on the main strip in town. They belong somewhere else. And they're upset about it now. They've had offers to go to another city and relocate. And that's the one example that I know of offhand where the government is being restrictive of business.
And you had also brought up the piece about having a need for some regulation and things like that. I mean, what are your thoughts to the folks who will say, well, this is what our they'll point to, say, for example, the comprehensive plan, in terms of strategic planning of zoning areas and things like that of the city, and will say this perhaps is the reason why we think this type of business maybe should be in another spot versus where it is now, that type of thing. I mean, how does that, where is that line, I guess, in your mind in terms of, still kind of keeping to, some of those things like the comprehensive plan or the strategic, planning for zoning and those types of things, but also, encouraging business growth as well?
I mean, I look at zoning. Zoning tells you where you can go for what type of business you want to be. 8th Street is our business strip, and I believe most of it is zoned business residential. So if you wanted to, say, start a hot dog stand, you should be able to, anywhere along 8th Street, go out, get your licenses, and start your hot dog stand without the city coming in and telling you, it's great that you want to start a hot dog stand, but you're really just going to be a destination business. We don't want you on our main strip. Maybe we can put you up over in the old Hirschlev's building up on Baker Street because that's sitting empty, and we'll fill you up and over there. It's just, if you meet the zone and you meet the code, I think you should be able to go in. It's as simple as that. I don't think the city should be able to push you into one building or another based on what they want you to do. You have the money, you're the business, you want to buy the building, you want to bring the jobs to town. It should be your right to do so.
Mm-hmm. Another thing that you had touched on is really being able to go out and work with the business community as, say, like the chief, basically the chief executive officer of the city, to be able to go out and work with the business community and talk about some of these issues and things like that. One of the things that I have heard in talking to people in the community is that a lot of that already is being done. Both other candidates have in the past kind of made a point to go out and do that, and I guess what are your thoughts? Do you think there needs to be more, or what would your role be in talking to other businesses?
Well, I guess if the other candidates have said it, it might not be being implemented, because when I was out getting my signatures talking to businesses, they said that they're not being accommodated to, that they're not being helped, that they're not getting a good feeling from the city, that they don't think the city's here to help them. So I really think that there needs to be more help from them to get them going. And I just don't think it should solely fall on the shoulders of the mayor. I want to be frank on that too. I don't know Zach or Mary Jo personally, but I'm sure that they are good people with their own ideas of how they want to move the community forward. But there's another part of the government in there too, and that's city council. And the city council plays a big part of what can get through, because they're the ones that have the votes. They vote on this stuff. And essentially, from what I understand, the mayor is the tie-breaking vote if the city council ever deadlocks on something. So if a business wants something and it has to go to city council, the city council votes it down, there's not much that the mayor can do for it. So I think businesses need to start putting the screws to city council too for what they need. And I think a lot of the alder people need to realize that they're elected to serve the people of the community and get them what they need. Not to be, you don't go into government to serve yourself or serve your own interests. You go into government to serve the people and the businesses of your community. So.
Okay. And one other thing that I wanted to follow up with you on that we've kind of talked about is you mentioned that aspect of you see there as being a very kind of hesitant or perhaps almost negative type of attitude in terms of turning the city around and the economy and things like that, and what you had said is you kind of want to change that attitude. You want to become more positive about being proactive and getting more businesses in and creating more jobs and fostering that job creation and those types of things. What are your thoughts on some of the other initiatives that are going on outside of city government, whether it be some of the things that the Community Foundation is doing, Encourage Community Foundation with its Workforce Central initiative to help businesses work together to develop training opportunities and to work with places like Mid-State Technical College and to really hone in and really have kind of focused on that the past couple of years to kind of increase that positive type attitude. What are your thoughts on some of those things that are being done already in that vein, and how would you as the mayor go about utilizing or perhaps working with some of those folks?
Well, I'm gonna be honest with you. I do not know a lot about Encourage or Reggie. I've heard about them.
And Reggie being the Regional Economic Growth Initiative.
I've heard about them. I'm trying to do some homework on them to find out more about them. I don't know how long they've been around. I certainly didn't hear of them before I left the community, so I'm assuming they must be relatively new entities to the town. If their goal is to bring business into town and turn the lights on and get things up and running and put people into jobs, and when I say put people into jobs, 40 hours a week, benefits, decent jobs, that's great. I would be more than happy to work with those folks and push towards those initiatives to get that done, because that's what I'd like to see this town move towards. But I'm a results-oriented person. I want to see results go forward. We can't keep staying here with our wheels spinning, talking about growth and having nothing happen for it. But I do got some homework to do on Reggie and Encourage, and I really do hope that they can move the community forward and get things going again like it used to be.
Which kind of leads it into the next type of topic, and we've kind of touched on some of this, I think, in some of your comments here. One of the things that I think is somewhat unusual about this race is obviously you've got yourself, who has I think you'd probably even agree you don't really have a whole lot of that political type experience or that government, a type background in that sense, in terms of an elected position. On the other hand, you've got two other candidates who one is a sitting mayor, already kind of on the job in that position, and obviously the second one being a former mayor who sat in for 3 terms, 6 years, doing that position. So I think it's a little bit of an unusual situation where you've got multiple candidates who have a really strong background and experience in serving as the mayor. I guess what are your thoughts, given the fact that you don't have a lot of that experience, and you'll talk to candidates every time there's an election, and typically the incumbents will be the ones who say, well, you need to have a certain amount of time before you can get used to the position, find out what it is, all of the different tasks that you have to do and be responsible for, and that type of thing. Given that you don't have that experience, how would you go about moving into this position and really taking on and accomplishing some of those goals that you have, given that I don't necessarily want to say it's a handicap in terms of like a golf game or something like that, but certainly an issue. How would you address that or compensate for that?
The best analogy I can look at is when you get hired for a brand new job. Your first day on the job, you're not an all-star employee. Yeah, you have to go through some training, and you have to do some observation. You have to figure out how things work before you can even go to your boss with an idea and say, hey boss, I think maybe it'd work better if we did it this way. If I were to get the position, it would take some time to watch and see how things are done. Getting a feel for how inside City Hall, how things are going, what each department's doing, what the budgets are per each department, what exactly every single issue is, and then really research them and get into it, and then get a good feel for everything that's going on down there. Just like when you start a new job, you get that 90-day probationary period where you really look over and you get the training. Be about the same thing. And then after you get a good feel for it, I think that's when you can start making the suggestions and moving forward. This is my opinion. And yeah, if I got elected, I'm not going to say I will be a superstar. I'm not going to pick up the ball and run it in and win the game with a big win here. It would take some time, because this is a city of about 20,000 people. There's a lot of things. You have various departments. You have city sewer, you have water and light, you have the police department, the fire department. You have everything within the city that you have to be responsible for. And I think one of the most dangerous things you could do if you're elected to a position is go in there and make changes without any knowledge of how it runs. I've seen that in the factories I worked in over in western Wisconsin, eastern Minnesota. Whenever they change management, the first thing management would do is go in there and change things around. And by doing that, it would cause about 6 months worth of problems, and it would actually make a factory lose money and put them into the red. Being mayor would be no different. You have to know what you're doing before you make significant changes. You have to work with the people that are there and really figure it out.
Mm-hmm. Running a little bit short on time here. We've got a few minutes left. Real quickly, I want to touch on a couple other things. The first one being another issue that has kind of come up in this race is in terms of communication and accessibility. Being accessible to the public, being able to communicate, what it is that you're accomplishing, in the position, and being able to communicate that back to be accountable. What are your thoughts in terms of how you would go about staying in touch with the citizens, the people of Wisconsin Rapids?
Well, I know just about everyone has email today. A good majority of people have email. I would, if anyone wanted to, I would take the initiative to create email updates from City Hall directly, where you can type a monthly newsletter and have that sent out to the community. Let people know what's going on. For people that might not have internet accessibility, by doing regular press releases to the Tribune or the Central Wisconsin News, so the people that access the news through that way can stay up to date. Being out in the community, talking to people, whether it's coming down here to the Centralia Center and talking to some of the folks that are milling about here and getting their feedback on things. I do believe as an elected official, you do need to be accessible to the people because you are accountable to the people. They're the ones that put you there. You are responsible to give the people updates and not just a once a year update on how things are going. But if there's big issues that are going on within the city, you just can't say, hey, we got this going on, and then disappear for a month or two and then not give anyone an update, because that's where rumors get started as well then too, and nobody knows what the heck's going on. So communication from City Hall is extremely important. But it's also a two-way street. I would also ask the citizens to engage City Hall more than what they're doing to keep in contact with their elected representatives for what they need as well.
Okay. And I guess we've got about a minute left, and I'll give you the opportunity to speak directly to the voters, the citizens of Wisconsin Rapids, to explain to them why they should vote for Steven Koth.
All right. Well, I'd like to be mayor because I want to move the community forward. We've been in a bad state for 10 years, and I'd really like to try to take and turn it around, and if anything, at least put a big spotlight on some of the issues facing us. And for everyone that has supported me up to this point, I thank the people that I've gotten a chance to meet and talk to, and thank them for their support.
Okay, sounds good. Well, thank you very much.
All right.
And again, the primary on February 18th. 3 candidates to narrow the field for the April election. Again, the candidates, Mr. Steven Koth Jr., as well as incumbent Mayor Zach Verwink and former Mayor Mary Jo Carson. Again, the primary is on February 18th. And once again, for Daily Tribune Media and River City's Community Access, I'm Nathaniel Shuda.